Aloha and welcome to this video on the 3 secrets of effortlessly fit people. I know you can think of someone right now who just seems to have their fitness nailed down. It's not like it's a big deal and they spend a whole bunch of time and energy on it. They're just like naturally super fit people. And in this video, we're going to explore some of the differences between the people who are really not fit, don't have that momentum, and people who are, and it's the easiest thing for them to maintain. So in this video, we're looking at 1, common myths and excuses of people that are not so fit. 2, we're going to look at how effortlessly fit people operate, and that's kind of the inverse of those excuses. And 3, we're going to review a few winning protocols, a few quick tips, and there's one at the end which is a very, very easy to follow recipe that makes a massive difference to just living with great energy, lean physique, strength, doing what you love. Ready, set, bring beginner's mind. You've probably heard some of these things before, but I'm going to remind you that there is something to learn here. If you don't learn something, then that's on you having a closed mind. There's always more depth that we can develop in this area. All right, here, part 1, common myths and excuses that I know you've heard or even thought yourself or even said yourself. I know I did in the past when I wasn't very fit and things were very difficult. Now I erase these or do not take the thoughts so seriously. Let's get into it. Number 1, I do not have the time. Well, we all got 168 hours in the week. Number 2, healthy food is too expensive. Again, we're going to look at what is maybe more true and useful in the next section. Number 3, I gain weight easily. You probably think, oh, it's your genetics, your disposition, whatever it is. You only need to look at a potato chip and you gain fat. We're going to look at maybe what's a little bit more true and useful in the next section. It is difficult for me to gain muscle. Now, I certainly used to believe this one. I thought it was really hard for me to gain muscle, and looking at the data, I was just doing it wrong. Like I didn't learn the right stuff. I wasn't practicing it in the right way. Number 1, I was not eating enough protein and not training for hypertrophy throughout my week enough. And then I took things too far and I was eating too much protein and digesting it really badly. It wasn't good. And I was overtraining at some points as well. And so when I found the right inputs of eating the right amount of protein and training the right amount and training effectively, oh, boom, actually it's not that hard to gain muscle and stay lean and all the things. Anyways, that was a long-winded explanation. Number 5, I shouldn't exercise if I'm sore. Well, we're going to see if that's true or not. Number 6, I am too tired to work out. Well, I bet all of us have felt this or thought this or said this out loud at some point or another, right? Is it useful? Is that serving us? Is it true? Number 7, I am somebody who makes excuses. Now, probably nobody says this directly, right? That's a little bit too face on for most of us. Normally, we do something else that seems like a valid excuse, like those other ones. But basically, every time we make an excuse, we are affirming that we are someone who makes excuses, instead of somebody who's a leader of their life. We're going to look at that in the next section. Number 8, this one is kind of a meta idea that is relevant to all of the other things that we're talking about here, is when I hear a thought go on in my head, I believe it is true and that I must act in alignment with it. Is this true and useful? I know we're walking on misty little narrow ledges here in a way, but when I hear a thought, I believe it's true. Is that true? What if we try it right now? Because I bet we've had this idea of like, oh, I can't do another push-up, but we can. Or I can't raise my arms above my head. You can do it right now with me. I can't raise my arms above my head. Maybe some of those little thoughts saying, oh, I can't run for another half mile, they are not true. And that being said, we do want to assess our values. There might be useful information coming in through a thought, and if it aligns with our highest values, we might listen to it and be like, all right, thank you, Mr. Brain, for letting me know I am going to take this action in alignment with that. And if it's running just because you feel a little bit tired and you think it would be nice to walk, but you committed to running through the finish line at another half mile away, then you're going to keep running and you're going to act in alignment with your values, even if the whole time, up until the last 50 feet, even if the whole time you have a thought going, oh, I don't want to run, no, I'm going to stop, I can't take another step, whatever. We don't need to believe it. We can test, at least, if it is true or not. We can observe, maybe from a little bit more of a distance, defuse from the thought, just test its truth. So these are all things that I have definitely had to get better with and continue to work on. Part 2 here are how the effortlessly fit people generally operate. You'll see these are inversions of the last 8 things we just talked about. Number 1, instead of saying I don't have enough time, is I know what is important and my time budgeting reflects my values. 168 hours in a week, I make sure that I am acting in alignment with my highest values to the maximum extent possible. And that means probably scheduling some fitness activities, eating the right foods, doing deep mission-driven work, family time, relationships, all of that, right? The time budget, where you're budgeting your 168 hours, some for recovery, some for healthy stress, some for important work, all of the relationship stuff, that should reflect your values. If you say you value something, you value your health, but you invest, like the average American, about 40 hours watching television per week, then you could look at the data and be like, well, this doesn't line up. Take a good hard look. Are you honestly able to say, I know what is important and my time budgeting reflects my values? You can look at the activities that you did over the last week. You look at your calendar and what you actually did on it and what you actually crossed off. And very important. Number 2, instead of saying that healthy food is too expensive, the meta here is that I know that investing in my own capacity to learn and to live better is priceless. It pays priceless dividends. And so I am going to make the best dietary choices available because I know that my inputs affect my outputs. I want to be able to give as much as possible in this life, and that means receiving high quality foods, high quality nourishment. Now, I have tested this whole you can eat well on a low budget thing plenty of times while traveling around the world and being very, very, very broke at times. You can get creative, or you can just naturally, surrender. Oh, and you end up helping somebody for half an hour, and you help them dig a hole or something, and they give you like a box of mangoes and avocados, and you're like, and salads, or work at the farmer's market. You're never gonna go home hungry if you get a little bit creative and you help people in some way. You're gonna find ways to find the right food. Anyways, number 3, instead of believing that, I just gain weight super easy, maybe it's more true and useful to say, I do the best I can with what I have. And my body is better and better every day in every way because I take actions aligned with my values. Number 4, instead of saying, oh my gosh, it's so hard for me to gain muscle, we can say, I am as muscular as I require to make progress in the direction that I want to go and live a long and inspiring life that makes epic stories. And if you want a little bit of extra information here, being super like bodybuilder muscular correlates with actually pretty high mortality rates. It is not the healthiest thing in the world. Like a mildly muscular build seems to be the best for long-term health span. And so you don't need to look like a super jacked bodybuilder. There's a lot of enhanced physiques out there on roids or insane diets or just like totally dedicated themselves to fitness, and they set up the lighting and they oil themselves and like they just like, yeah, this is just me, man. And like that's probably not what you were going to optimize for and commit for. Even if the external physique looks good, you probably don't want that lifestyle. And so you can say, I am as muscular as required to make the progress that I want and I need. Number 5, instead of saying I'm too sore or injured or sick to do some exercise today, instead, the effortlessly fit people says, I don't skip. Instead, I adapt what I do. I adapt my movement and my exercise for what my body is ready for. And so this might mean changing the workout. Like when I got hit by a skier and broke my collarbone, I didn't go and hit shoulders the next day, but I did do legs. I did do something. And that was a hell of a lot better than sitting around going, oh, I am sore. And same if you do a super hard leg day or you run a half marathon or something and the next day you're like, oh my gosh, it's hard to walk stairs. You're really, really sore. Yes, you might not hit another hard leg workout the next day, but you will do something right. You will get motion in there, and that'll enhance the recovery process. Or you'll do some sort of other exercise, stamina training, whatever. There's always options for you to stay on track, to keep the momentum rolling. And this is what the effortlessly fit person knows for themselves, because they've had stuff happen to them too, and they've not let themselves fall off and go into a downward spiral. Exercise is just way too good, feels way too good when you get in the rhythm of it to skip. Number 6, instead of saying, oh my gosh, I am so tired, there's no way I can work out after all this big old day, I'm so tired, we could say, when I feel low, I exercise and I feel better. This is very, very true. If I'm feeling tired, I'm gonna hit that max set of push-ups. I'm gonna do some pull-ups. I'm gonna run around. I'm gonna go for a walk up a hill or something. Never have I done some exercise and been like, wow, I really regret doing that. Man, I just feel terrible and tired after exercising. Even if you do feel a little bit like relaxed because you expended a huge amount of energy on some like tough, Muay Thai workout or something, it's a very victorious type of rest rather than like a low energy tired that is a well-deserved setting you up for a deep sleep kind of rest. Now in the past, when I didn't have the physique that I wanted, I would skip workouts if I was tired. Now I flipped the script, and if I feel a little low energy, then that is the perfect cue for me to do some exercise. Number 7, instead of being someone who makes excuses, the fit person knows that they don't get anywhere they want to go by making excuses. I want progress and I want epic stories more than I want sympathy. Sympathy, I don't value that much. I'd rather have a biography at the end of my life that somebody might read and go, wow, this guy did not make excuses when he got in a hard situation. He was proactive and he did the best he can. He did what was most important. That's what I want. Number 8, instead of believing every thought and taking it too seriously and having that little voice say, you should stop running, and immediately listening to it, you get a little bit of space. Thoughts are thoughts. They can be thoughts. You can have them kind of hanging out with you, right? And there's various diffusion methods. And this is part of acceptance and commitment therapy here. But basically, the summary is diffusion lets me act in alignment with my deeper values, no matter what Mr. Brain is yapping about. Knowing the deeper values, acting in alignment with the deeper values, thoughts are there, positive or negative. The deeper part of our awareness is there, like, cool, thank you, Mr. Brain, for having these thoughts. I know that's another thought, right? But there's that observational awareness that has space between you and the thought. You can see the situation a lot more clearly. You not get trapped in the thought. And that is a massive one. Very underrated, not spoken about a whole lot in the personal training world, in the fitness world. A little bit more in the dietary thing, like, oh my God, I really want to eat some potato chips. There's different motivational techniques, but basically just having space and observing cravings, observing aversions, observing doubts, observing slothly vibes or restless vibes if you're trying to meditate or something, just observing it and like, all right. Even physical pain, you can observe it. It doesn't mean that you don't listen to it and like maybe adjust your actions. If you break your ankle, you're not going to keep running on it because that probably doesn't align with your values unless you're being chased by a bear or something. But that space is very, very helpful. Part 3 here, winning protocols. These are actionable. Listen up. Number 1, contemplate your purpose, your milestones, your habit tracker every morning and evening. Even if you don't have your habit tracker on hand for whatever reason, you're traveling or your suitcase got lost in the plane, like mine actually did just a couple of days ago. You might not have your habit tracker, that doesn't matter. You're going to be checking it off sooner or later. So we want our actions for the day to be in alignment with that. Alignment with our highest purpose, our milestones, our most meaningful stuff. This is an actionable thing every morning, every evening. Number 2 is get exposed to new perspectives and depths daily. This is active learning. This is diving into that interesting topic with another book. This is another course. This is a podcast. This is something every day seeking to understand, develop width or develop depth, or both of them at the same time in certain strips. We either develop width, of just getting a broader perspective, new ideas, new schools of thought or whatnot, or we develop depth and dive much, much deeper into a topic. Believe me, there is virtually nothing on earth which you cannot develop more depth in. And of course, there's infinitely growing amount of width to explore as well. So you should never be bored and think, oh my gosh, I've got nothing to learn today. Even if you were in the middle of the woods, even if you were stranded in the middle of the ocean with no electronics or books or nothing, there's something that you can learn and contemplate and basically receive wisdom from inside, from nature, whatever. Number 3 is exactly that, time in nature. This is a daily practice, a bit of a longer practice weekly, and maybe even like a multi-day thing seasonally. Seasonally is really cool because you get to see the seasons change and you get a lot more in tune with things when you actually spend time outside regularly and you see the seasons change, no matter where you are, even if it's tropical. Time in nature daily might be pretty simple. That might just be a walk under the sky. Even if you live in the city, you can do that, a local park or something. But I highly, highly suggest trying to find some more untouched kind of wildernessy stuff on a weekly basis. Fortnightly is not bad, weekly is better. Some sort of hike, some sort of deeper experience into the world that isn't so touched by man's icky little fingers. Winning protocol number 4 is discuss ideas, missions, philosophies, struggles, epiphanies, new learnings, all of that with a friend, with a mentor, with a dog, with a coach, journaling, like literally physically speak them or write them or both, and do this at least weekly. You can do this daily, that's great, depending on your time budget, if it aligns with your priorities, but at least weekly. Have a true friend. And by the way, my definition of a true friend is somebody that you can share absolutely anything with, just like you were thinking it privately, just like you were writing it in a secret little journal that nobody's going to ever read. If you cannot share with your friend things that are just as intimate, then they're probably not the level of friend for these types of conversation. Number 5 is really cool. Every day I remember that I'm not the only stakeholder and I'm not the only employee or team member, but I am the CEO of my fitness and of my life. I am responsible 100%. I am the chief executive officer, which means that I am in charge of taking action as best that I can to produce the results that I want to produce. Stakeholders are the people that benefit from you living your life and taking the actions that you take. And team members or employees are people that help you out and make all of this possible. And yes, they could be actual virtual assistants, but they're also the people that work at the grocery store, the people that grow the food, the people that build your house, your contractors. It extends out to everything in the world at some point, helping you live your life and you complete your mission. And in a way, they are all working for you. Everything in the universe is working for me to live this life with this experience and be able to do what I do. And I want to feel grateful for that every day. And knowing that eventually everything in the universe is a stakeholder in my success, in my ability to serve and to develop my gifts. That means that I better show up as my best self and do my best work, because everybody is on my team. I know that I can help, and I know that others help me. Number 6, prove your commitments by always finding a way forward. This is another no excuse mantra, right? So in addition to coaching and leading myself, I get customized help from a professional that leads by example, from a professional that does something like I want to do, that has a skill that I know that I could benefit from, and in turn others could benefit from me having this skill, right? And the negative is also very, very, very powerful. The anti-goals, the anti-mentors in a way. I also learn from others by taking note of what creates the kind of life that I really do not want to live. I can note down what they do and basically just make sure that I don't do that, right? There's a whole bunch of people and they're like, I really don't want that life. I really don't want that result. I'm just going to not do what they do. And that's going to at least give me a little bit of clarity. Number 7, the daily habits of journaling, meditating, reading, questioning, goal setting, deep work, exercising, and reviewing your performance. Are they really that important? Journaling? If you are familiar with Tim Ferriss's book, Tools of Titans, then you will see some of the patterns of very, very high performers in various life domains. And pretty well all of them do all of these things. Very, very, very high percentage do every single one of these on a pretty well daily basis. So I'm going to take that lesson and do what they do. They have skills that I want to develop as well. They've done things that prove that they know what they're doing and they're still healthy and they're happy and they're fulfilled and they're working on more and more missions that can change the world in positive ways. So I'm going to take note and do something similar. Finishing up with number 8 here. This one is really about having a lean, healthy, muscular, high energy kind of thing. Exercise before and after meals and breathe 3 times. Through your nose, into your belly, before and after eating. And I admit I forget this one too many times, but I do it at least once a day, usually at dinner. I'm getting better at doing it every meal. You wouldn't believe how hard this is if you're just used to like, oh, yummy food and eating it. Slowing down and taking 3 breaths, actually getting your digestive system like ready to eat, actually contemplating the meal that you're about to eat, and then enjoying how you've received that meal after you've eaten. Again, great for the digestive system. Actually doing this practice, believe me, your nutritional habits and the way that you even receive the same food is going to change, and your physique and your mental will reflect that. 3 deep breaths. You don't need to think it consciously, but already you're going to be really grateful. You're going to be more relaxed. You're going to be in a state where you can receive the best of this food. And because you're more conscious and aware and you're slowing down, you're also going to make better dietary choices. Maybe not go back for thirds because you took those 3 breaths and actually noticed, hey, I'm pretty full. I really don't need thirds. Bonus, love what you do, love why you do it, love everyone. I am loving awareness is the mantra you can play with. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. All the best. I'll see you in the next one.